The main character never believed that you need to take games very seriously, because there are many things in life that are more important than games. He thought so until a certain moment, until his own sister was killed in front of his eyes. Some player just pierced it with his sword, and the main character couldn't even stop him because he was weak. After he dealt with his sister, he finished with the main character, and so his first life ended. The player stabbed the main character in the shoulder. Of course, it did not kill him, but it was very painful. So Kai lay wounded, looking at his dead sister, and regretting that he had not been able to protect her. If I had taken the game seriously initially, our end would not have been like this, the main character thought. But now there is nothing to be done, it happened. His only loved one was killed in front of his eyes. Kai rose with the last of his strength. He was furious at his helplessness. He picked up the first thing that came to hand and threw it at his sister's killer. Unfortunately, it was ordinary dirt that did not cause any damage. But the main character did not care. He did everything in his power. The player just finished what he started and blew off the head of the main character, and so his first life ended. After dying, Kai woke up in bed. He didn't understand anything about what was happening. The noise of the metropolis was heard from the window. Cars were honking, and people were talking. He got up on the bed, recovering a little, and realizing that he was in his room. He saw his room from the past, before this game took over the whole world, and the game became a reality. Then his sister walked into the room, carrying a box of virtual reality glasses. Just the kind of game that would take over the world. Getting out of bed, Kai asked what month and date it was. He wondered why he had gone back in time. He also looked out the window into the street. The city was still the same. Everything was fine. Nothing foreshadowed trouble. When his sister said the date and month, Kai realized that today was the day when the original Realm game had just been activated. He walked over to his sister and hugged her very tightly, remembering how she had been killed because of his weakness. He was glad that she was alive. On July 27, 2030, this game first appeared. On September 3rd, it took over the whole world. The dregs of society and the lower strata of the population gained incredible strength and abilities, and after that, chaos began. Due to the fact that Kai had the lowest level, he couldn't stand up to anyone, and so he and his sister were killed. Natalie pushed Kai away, telling him not to molest her. She did not like any tenderness. After that, the protagonist had one goal: to become much stronger in order to protect his sister and himself. Therefore, he immediately entered the game to raise the level in his power as soon as possible. Although this game was just launched, there were already a lot of players. It was very popular. So the main character appeared in this game. He already had a plan on how to become the strongest warrior. The primordial kingdom opened up to the eyes of the main character. It was so realistic. Every person who played here walked around and rejoiced at the realism of this game. Everyone wanted to raise their level faster. Kai first went to the training center to master some weapons. Initially, he started with a katana, the lightest weapon, due to which it is very fast. After 5 hours, Kai had fully mastered this weapon. He realized that he was a master of melee weapons. Next, he took up his sword until he reached the same perfection as with his katana. Not far from the training center, two players were standing and discussing something. Then they heard a noise coming from the hall, and therefore decided to check who was there. They saw how the main character was engaged. They wondered why he started with this, and not with raising the levels. The players also took weapons to start training. They were interested. But after a couple of minutes, we realized that this was just a waste of time. Nothing was happening to them. And so they turned around and left the training center to level up a bit. But Kai didn't stop. He continued to train with the sword until he fully mastered it. Next in line was the spear, which he also decided to master perfectly. After a couple of hours of training, the spear was fully mastered, but no power appeared. The main character decided not to give up and fully devote himself to mastering all the weapons. A couple of days passed. Everyone already had the 20th levels, and the main character is still on the first, but he has already mastered all the weapons. The same players who were here a couple of days ago again saw how the main character is still training. She was very surprised by this since he did not stop mastering weapons because he was weak anyway. So she led her friend away from the training center. Then the main character receives a notification that for mastering 18 types of weapons, he receives the title of Master Armorer. This did not suit Kai. He had mastered all types of edged weapons, but he had not yet received power. Therefore, he decided to go further to try himself in firearms. Entering the hall with firearms, he saw how many of them were here. He would not have time to master all types in a month. So Kai decided to start with a pistol, a seemingly light weapon. The protagonist thought that he could not give up, and he would do anything to get power. Then at the training center, that girl came back again. She was curious if Kai was training here again. But there was no one in the training center, so she thought at first until she heard the sound of gunshots. When she looked into the hall with firearms, she saw how the main character began to illuminate himself with something. She realized that he had gained power, and all his training had not been in vain. A powerful energy emanated from the main character. It was clear how he had become much stronger. Kai liked it. He finally got what he had wanted for so long. Now no one could offend him and his sister. Then he noticed that the same girl who had come here a couple of days ago was watching him. She pretended not to see anything and was a little embarrassed, and the main character just passed by. Now you need to improve your level, the main character thought, and went to the arena. While Kai was walking towards the arena to level up, the people were already in the 20s and 30s, talking about how cool they were. Initially, the main character decided to go to the store to buy himself a weapon and then go to the arena. This knife, of course, is not the best, but for the first time it will do to fight. It was a secret kingdom company. Here was the arena where the main character was headed. In the mirror realm, the player can create a copy of himself, and other players can fight against his copy. The higher the balance of the gold reserve, the higher you are in the tournament grid. As a first-tier fighter, this is the place to level up. Two guys come out of the respawn point. One of them is very upset as he lost the fight and lost everything he had. Now he will have to swing again, as he is again on the first level. Then they notice the main character, who was standing near the tournament grid and choosing an opponent. In this game, you have to choose an opponent only 5 levels above you, so Kai will fight with a 5-level opponent. Kai remembered why he didn't want to play this game seriously, all because he was afraid of the battles that often took place here. Here he appeared in the game arena, against the mirror reflection of the 5th level. The countdown to the start of the fight began. Kai was a little nervous, because he never liked to participate in this. The opponent made a sharp lunge towards the main character. He did not expect this. The mirror image knocked the gun out of Kai's hands. He could only hope for his knife. At the last moment, the main character put up a defense so as not to take damage from the enemy. He repelled his attack and prepared to counterattack him to end it. With a single blow, he was able to incapacitate his opponent by cutting his shoulder in half. These two guys were waiting with interest to see how this fight would end, although they thought that the main character would lose. But then he is reborn in front of them as a winner. They did not expect this, because he was weak. They were shocked that this weak guy was able to defeat his opponent. These guys decided to bet because they knew that he would go further into the arena. They bet money on him. After the first victory, Kai was confident, and he was no longer afraid of anything. The guys placed their bets. As soon as he entered the room, they bet everything on him. But as soon as they saw who the main character chose for the duel, they got scared. One of them even had his legs buckled, as he did not believe in the victory of the main character, and he bet everything he had on him. They were both upset, and they said why out of everyone with the 10th level, he chose the strongest. Kai will fight Grom, the strongest player among the 10th levels. The main character was completely ready for the fight. He was no longer so worried. Then suddenly he stabs his leg with a knife. Apparently he has some kind of plan. Wounded and with a bloody knife, he stands up. There are only a few seconds left before the start of the battle. Kai was the first to attack Grom, without waiting for him to make the first move. Grom dodges without any problems and knocks the gun out of the hands of the main character. Then with a sharp movement, he strikes the main character, who barely manages to beat him off. Kai realized that he was in danger when he was too close to Grom, so he decided to move away to a safe distance. Here they are again standing and looking at each other. The main character thinks how he can defeat his opponent. Grom was a very strong opponent. Kai hadn't expected this. To cope with it, you need to try hard. Otherwise, everything that the main character has, he will lose it all. Therefore, Kai made another dash towards his opponent. He put all his power into it. But at the last moment, he changed his trajectory and headed in the other direction. Picking up his pistol abruptly, he saw that Grom was already stabbing him. At the last moment, he blocks and fires a shot at Grom. Thunder's head was torn off from the shot. The main character was again able to win this round and rise to the 10th level. Kai liked this, because now he is not weak, he can finally stand up for himself. Meanwhile, in the arena lobby, several players are pressuring the two guys who were betting on Kai. These guys wanted to take everything away from them for the fact that they would lose in their bets on the main character. One of the guys with the last of his strength says that they really believe that Grom will win. And then, when the tournament board was brought out, it was written on it that the winner was Kai. These guys were very happy because now the stake is on their side, they won. The main character returned from the arena. He felt that the fear of battles was slowly disappearing. Then Natalie came into the room and said it was time for dinner so that Kai could stop playing his games. At the table, the sister served the main character's favorite dish. It was mushroom soup. Kai quickly had a quick lunch of his favorite food and went back to his room to level up. Natalie was surprised that Kai only ate one portion of his favorite food. He usually ate a lot. Meanwhile, in the hall of the arena, the one who had previously threatened that he would rip off these guys to the bone now begged to share the money, otherwise his father would kill him. But then a guy jumped up abruptly and slammed his head into the wall. His name was Dwight. He said that even though they lost, he should give them the money, everything he won, and set a trap for the main character. The guys had no choice but to agree to Dwight's terms. He said he would do whatever Dwight wanted. Dwight's tactics were to make sure that Kai would fight a level 20 Thunder. Kai returned to the game again. Now he was already level 13. He was much stronger than before. The main character was surprised that his attributes exceeded 100. And now, having received the title of Private, he received double attributes as a reward. At this point, Kai wondered if he, with his current strength, would be able to defeat a level 20 Thunder. The next bets began. Louis decided to bet on Kai again. Hugh was surprised by this. He really thinks that Kai will win. Louis said that he believed in Kai. He had some power that many did not possess. So, another battle began between the Thunder of the 20th level and Kai of the 13th level. The main character felt a strong aura emanating from Grom. He is a very powerful player. It will be difficult to defeat him. Kai had a huge reserve of knowledge power, so he could win this battle. Without waiting for the enemy to attack, the main character was the first to take a step, flying straight at Grom and shooting at him. Grom was able to deflect all the attacks of the main character without any problems, while they fought on equal terms. But then a small loophole appeared, which the main character could use to kill the enemy. He was about to pull the trigger, but then something stopped him. That face, it was vaguely familiar to him. He remembered the very man who had once killed him and his sister. While Kai was confused, Grom took advantage of this. But at the last moment, Kai dodged the attack. The main character was slowly seized by fear. He again began to fear battles and death. Flashbacks from the past began to crash into the main character's head, how this guy killed them. But all this was in the past. It was not for nothing that the main character was given a second chance. Now he will not retreat. And he and Grom rushed towards each other. The main character was full of confidence in victory. There was no fear left in him. Thunder made a swing. Kai dodged the attack in time. The sword passed a few centimeters from his face. In one motion, he passed Grom from behind and took him in the crosshairs. Now all that remained was to pull the trigger. Kai emerged victorious from this arena. He was able to overcome his fear and defeat his opponent. One of the players who bet on Grom lost the bet. He did not expect such agility from the newcomer. Even Hugh congratulated Louis on his victory and said that he did not bet on Kai in vain. At this point, Louis wondered, since Kai was able to win, then now he was at the 22nd or 23rd level. Now he could fight at the 30th level. The protagonist was now targeting the 30-level Thunder, the strongest mirror image. If Kai manages to defeat him, then he will become an invincible player who can survive when the game takes over the world. This time, Dwight was confident that level 30 Thunder would be able to destroy this upstart, and the bids began again. Louis, as always, bet on Kai. He was confident in his victory. The 30th level Thunder was the strongest copy in the mirror world. No one had defeated it before. With one blow, he took away half of the protagonist's health. Kai didn't even have time to do anything. But still, he was able to repel his second attack. Grom was really too strong and fast. Kai bounced away from him. Because he is strong at close range, he needs to be more careful. Moving to a safe distance, the main character used a pistol, but everything missed the target. Thunder attacked Kai again. At the last moment, he managed to defend himself, but since there was little health left, he began to regenerate. As he continued to dodge Grom's attacks, he needed time to regain his health. Although Kai has a level 46 stats, Grom is much stronger than him, and everything continues to put pressure on the main character. But if this is all his strength, then the victory will be mine, the main character thought. And so Kai decided to use his ability to improve his stats twice. After that, Kai felt all the power that he now possessed pass through his body. Thunder rushed into battle at the protagonist. Kai was already ready to meet him. Everyone watched this fight as Grom trampled on the guy who believed in himself. Thunder ran at the protagonist, dodging his shots, his agility being at the maximum. But then one bullet hit the target. Grom did not expect this. It slowed him down. This was a chance for Kai. He took advantage of it and shot the entire clip at Grom. But this did not stop him. He used a passive ability to avoid death. And so Grom made the last jump to crush the main character. But it was his mistake. Kai had planned it all and was already waiting for him to be ready. He aimed at Grom, flying at him, and fired his last shot. Although Grom was already close, the main character managed to make a shot. The bullet hit Grom's forehead. It broke through his defenses and reached the target. Thunder was defeated. He let go of his sword. He was finally defeated. Kai watched as Grom's body fell. The main character again emerged victorious in this battle. Now the main character had two titles, incredible hidden abilities, and the properties of an invincible fighter. Kai returned from the arena. He was happy because now he is the strongest fighter who can stand up for himself. Dwight was shocked by what he saw. He did not believe that Kai would be able to defeat the 30th level Grom. But Lewis and Hugh were happy because they made the right bet on Kai's victory. When Kai quit the game, his sister said that they could go to the store and buy noodles if he wanted to. But the brother, hugging his sister, said that today they were eating in a restaurant. The next day, Kai was beside himself with anger. He failed to buy another virtual reality glasses. They will come only in 2 months. It is too late. At this time, the game will already take over the world. Meanwhile, Natalie was walking with her best friend Eva, whom she had not seen for a long time. She thought she was beautiful. Just such a girl would suit Kai. Then Eva says that she is forced to play one game where they level up. She is already tired of it. Natalie was interested in what kind of game her friend was being forced to play. Meanwhile, Dwight, because of his loss and because the main character is so strong, beats his girlfriend again. Constantly, when something him off, he takes out his anger on her. Then he was distracted by a call. It was to the girl's joy. She was able to quietly leave. The guy on the other end of the line said that he could not find the address of the main character, but there is another plan on how to do it. Kai returned to the game again to level up as soon as possible until the moment chaos began. The highest level here is the 30th. Now there is no place for the main character to raise the level. You need to look for another place where you can raise levels to become even stronger. You should buy yourself protection before you go anywhere, because it will always help. But after seeing the prices in the store, the main character realized that it would be better for him to do without it for now. Kai walked and thought about where he could go to raise his level and also earn money. The main character decided to go to the Destroyed Kingdom, where he could join some squad and go to the dungeon. There were many players who were inviting others to join their team to go to the dungeon together. Then Kai heard the other players say that one team went to the dungeon and lost. There are small units where you can join. The more players in the team, the more experience points you get. Now the main character only has to choose where to join. But it wasn't so easy. Everyone wanted a comrade with a 30th level and more powerful equipment. An hour after he approached everyone refused him. He was already in despair. But then Dwight appeared, who said that he was looking for another person to join his team. And knowing that he would not refuse, he simply went, beckoning Kai to join him. Rich players could afford to move directly to the task, unlike other players. Dwight brought the main character to his team. The rest of them were already waiting for them. Kai saw that the top players had gathered here. He was lucky to get into such a strong team. A player immediately greeted him, calling himself Daryl. He was more friendly than the others. When all the players went to the portal, they were already plotting something against the main character. The portal led them directly to the task. The task was to protect this crystal from monsters. Leaving the portal, they immediately looked around so that the territory did not pose a threat. All the players took their positions. Each was responsible for his place so as not to miss the monsters. The last to come out was the main character. He saw the very crystal that needed to be protected. Dust rose in the distance. The enemies were already on the way. You need to be ready for this. A lot of spiders ran towards the crystal, hoping to destroy it. One of the players commanded Kai to stay near the crystal and not let anyone in. In the meantime, he entered into battle with these creatures, cutting them to pieces. Players began to destroy all the creatures that tried to break through to the crystal. They worked in unison, but not a single creature could pass by them. Kai realized that they had been clearing dungeons together for a long time because they were working as a team. Then Dwight looked at one of his subordinates, who immediately understood what he had to do. With a snide smile, he looked in the direction of the main character. He was clearly plotting something against him. Then one of these creatures rushes in his direction to kill him. But at the last moment, he dodges, sending this creature right at the main character. But Kai is not one of the timid 10. In one movement, he cuts the spider into two parts. The first wave was destroyed. The players did not even make an effort. It was easy for them. Daryl sat there praising Kai for powerfully slashing the spider. And the one who missed it said that it was his mistake. Next time he would be attentive. Daryl tells Kai that he is very good. This team needs people like him and offers to join him. The main character liked this idea. He would like to join such a strong squad. Daryl decided to ask the boss, saying that Kai is a very good player, just the kind they need. At this point, Dwight said that he would accept him on one condition, if he gave his address in the real world. Kai thought for a moment, the first time he'd heard people ask for an address when they joined. All the players' eyes lit up, hoping that they would find out Kai's address in the real world and then get rid of him. But the main character figured them out a long time ago. He said that this was their goal, to find out his real address. Kai said that Dwight must be the leader of the new order, and if he told them the address now, they would come for him. Dwight turned it all into a joke, saying that he didn't understand what the protagonist was talking about. Kai said that he didn't want to do it himself, but since this was the way it went, he didn't need to pretend either. He would just kill them all. Dwight did not like his manner of communication and tone. He realized that there was nothing to hide. They all surrounded the main character and said that he was right, but since he found out about everything, then they would just kill him here. Daryl decided to cut Kai and swung to do what he planned. But Kai got his bearings in time and smashed his head with a pistol. He didn't even have time to do anything. All the other players were shocked at how easily he killed Daryl, who was stronger than him. He also got all the goodies that he received during Daryl's leveling. Dwight was furious at what happened. He ordered everyone to kill the main character. Everyone at once pounced on the main character, but he was completely calm. One by one, he began to kill Dwight's players. They didn't even have time to damage him. And Dwight watched this fight, thinking that his people would be able to kill the main character. But then Kai dealt with almost everyone. None of them expected this. The survivors were shocked. He was not as weak as it seemed before. At this point, Dwight backpedaled, saying that if they lost anyone else, they would not be able to clear this dungeon. But Kai said that he didn't care. He would lose a maximum of 1 day to level up to level 20 again. Dwight replied that he could get in the way by going there with other people, and he wouldn't get into the mirror realm. But in response to this, he shot the hunter standing to Dwight's left. Dwight did not expect this. And then the remaining 3 players, Dwight was shocked by what was happening. They were left only 2. He immediately remembered his boss's words not to lose this battle, otherwise he would no longer help him. Only Dwight remained, and Kai pointed his gun at him, ready to fire. Dwight fell to his knees in front of the protagonist, apologizing to him and telling him to spare him. Dwight said that if he spared him, he would tell him the secret of the game, to which Kai replied that he was not interested. And he fired his last shot at Dwight, saying goodbye to him. But the bullet hadn't wounded him in any way. He was still alive. He hadn't expected Kai to shoot after all. Even Kai himself was surprised that Dwight was alive. He had to finish what he had started as soon as possible. Dwight cursed the protagonist, saying that he alone could not cope with the monsters in this dungeon. Still, he tried to work with Kai once more, saying that only by joining forces would they cope. To which Kai replied that he would not die here. He had the strength to fight the monsters and defeat them. Dwight kept saying that Kai was only level 28, and with the equipment of a beginner, he would not survive here. Kai then revealed that he had assembled an arsenal of players he had killed to help him in this battle. Dwight was speechless. He didn't know what to say to the protagonist. Meanwhile, Kai had already put on the equipment of the players he had killed and prepared for battle. The main character liked their equipment. He didn't even have to spend money on it. Dwight saw all this. He was scared because Kai could easily cope without him. Dwight began to be rejected. He could not believe that the main character would be able to clear this dungeon alone. But now the monsters have already begun to advance. They are aimed directly at the crystal. But Kai managed to destroy the spider, trying to destroy the crystal in time. So, the main character began to smash every creature that tried to get closer to the crystal. No one could slip past him. He caught everyone and chopped everyone to pieces. But he also took his life. So he used recovery to avoid losing this fight. Dwight also fought monsters, preventing them from approaching the crystal. Together they crushed the monsters coming to meet them. There were too many of them. There were so many of them that Kai constantly used regeneration to avoid dying. Dwight couldn't believe his eyes. He didn't think that the protagonist had so many recovery potions. While he was distracted, he was attacked by one of the monsters and was able to inflict damage. Dwight reached for the recovery potion, but his inventory was empty. The potions were gone. They surrounded him on all sides and rushed at him to tear him to shreds. Dwight realized that he could no longer fight them off and just screamed in helplessness. Finally, Kai destroyed all the monsters and was able to protect the crystal. He was already exhausted. It was difficult to cope with such a crowd of undead. Then some kind of bonus fell to him. The main character thought that the main thing was that it was something useful. Otherwise, he would not survive the third wave. In this bonus, he got a good pistol, just right to fight monsters. He was happy with the bonus he received, which increased his chances of winning. After his death, Dwight turned to his boss, apologizing for not being up to the task and that the main character is very strong. The boss told him to leave the showdown with Kai to him. He would solve this problem, but so that he would not screw up like that again. Meanwhile, Eva and Natalie were sitting in the cafe. Kai's sister was telling the essence of this game. And then she came up with a wonderful idea for Natalie to start playing this game with her too. Initially, Natalie was against it. She was even surprised by her friend's proposal. After the main character received a bonus, he again began to fight monsters with renewed vigor. He decided to use the superpower that gave him the bonus to destroy the monsters as much as possible. By jumping on them, he created a huge shock wave that sent monsters flying apart. Then he noticed that too many monsters had approached the crystal. He had to have time to protect it. He pointed his sword in their direction so that they would not have time to reach the crystal. Then after killing all the small monsters, the boss of the dungeon appeared. It was a very huge spider. Kai took all his remaining strength and rushed into battle towards the enemy, trying to destroy him with one blow. And so it turned out, Kai dealt with the boss of the dungeon without any problems. After taking off his virtual reality glasses, he walked over to the window to think for a while about how to protect himself and his sister from all this. Then he heard the front door open and his sister entered the apartment. Natalie walked with a box in her hands. It was the same game that Kai plays. Seeing this, Kai was immediately happy. He would finally be able to teach his sister to survive in this game, and it would be a little easier for them. But Natalie did not come to the apartment alone. Eva stood behind her. She greeted the main character. But Kai had no time for her. He ran up to his sister joyfully, finding out how she managed to get this game. Natalie did not like it very much, because she wanted to introduce them to Eva, and he was all about his games. Even Eva herself became comical about this situation. Kai reacted to this game like a small child. Meanwhile, in the virtual reality game, a couple of people were sitting in another dungeon. This girl, who recently became the strongest player in the third team, her name was Rose. The guys from her squad were vigorously discussing the fact that she could transfer to the first team, to the team of the strongest. Because she deserved it, so she has already grown out of this team, and if she wants, she can change it. She was glad to hear this and thanked the guys for such words and in general, for everything they did for her. The guys said that they were not sorry for anything, and if she needed help, then let her contact them. She thanked them again and said that she needed help right now. A couple of minutes later, the corpses of the guys from her team were lying all over the camp. The survivor told her that she had acted cruelly because they had accepted her into their team and taught her everything. With the last of his strength, he took out a pistol and put all the cartridges into her, hoping to kill her. But she gracefully dodged his bullets and grabbed him from behind, piercing his neck with a dagger. The next day, another dungeon, which the players went to clear. With one blow, the commander destroyed the boss of this dungeon. The dungeon was completed. It was Grom, who had many mirror copies on which the players trained. Then one of his team turned to Grom, saying that there was another player who had power. He said that this player who had killed the person in charge of the mirror realm, Thunder, was shocked. This notification also came to Rose, who had already gained a high level due to the fact that she had killed her guys from the team. The head of the first guild said that we must either lure him away or get rid of him. But of course, she was more interested in killing him because she likes to do it. The main character remembered his past life. In that life, the player's highest level was the 60s. If he managed to reach the 60th level before the world was plunged into darkness, he would be the strongest player. They will also need shelter, so Kai bought a building across from his house, and he also ordered canned food and cereal so that he could survive it. The most important thing in this game is to raise the level, and you need to have power, so you need to teach all this to your sister. First of all, the main character took them to a training center where they learned to master cold weapons. Eva had already played this game, and she was at level 32, so she more or less understood what was required of her. In her previous life, Eve did not live with them. It happened because he changed the present. In our past life, thanks to Eva, we lived for 3 years, the main character recalled, so she must be repaid for this in this life. Kai and the guys continued to clear the dungeons one by one. Now he is taken to any team, so he increases his level. So they cleared another dungeon? The guys were glad that they met such a strong player. Kai said that he was done for today, and he would go to take a little rest from the fights. The guys were upset, but they couldn't do anything about it, so they said they were leaving too. Kai was at his limit because at this rate, he would only get to the 50th level. There was little time left. Do you really have to be the same freak who will kill his guys from the team in order to have time to rise to the 60th level? Then he received some kind of message. He was very surprised who could write to him. It was Rosé. He was very happy about it because he wouldn't have to kill innocent guys and she deserved it. Rosé, in a previous life, was the strongest player. She achieved this by killing people from her team. The main character accepted the invitation and saw that all the scum of society had gathered in the team, who were killing their own people. Boar, in a previous life, received the reward of a hopeless situation, and before receiving the reward, he destroyed all his guys. Pechenyushka, she has a similar story. She was the first to throw mud at a person, and in the end, she also killed her friend, whom she slandered. Kai wondered why the entire team was made up of traitors, if they were all targeting him. Kai decided to open the map to see what terrain they would be playing in. The controlled territories of the city of Mushu extend to 5 zones. A particularly dangerous zone is a controlled zone. Players who are looking for hot sensations go there. A deadly zone for players, this is an uncontrolled zone. There are powerful monsters that exceed the 30th level. Next comes unmanageable territory, it's just death for all players. And the last one is the zone of destruction. No one is controlled by the city of Mushu. The most powerful monsters live here. Without hesitation, Kai entered the portal, which will take him to the Rosé squad, who are waiting for him. After exiting the portal, Kai came across tree monsters. He began to behave very quietly so as not to attract their attention. Kai hid behind a rock and waited for the moment when he could slip through unnoticed. Suddenly, in the depths of the forest, a scream was heard. All the monsters immediately ran to this noise. Kai realized that this was the moment when he could pass unnoticed while they were all gone. He quickly ran to the meeting point with the squad with whom he would be clearing the dungeon. But then, a few centimeters from his face, a spear flies. At the last moment, Kai manages to jump away. But the attack did not end there. The enemy continued to strike. Kai parried all his attacks and began to advance on his opponent himself, pushing him back. Jumping back, he stopped attacking, and with a satisfied grin, said that Kai wasn't that bad. It was Hog, the same player who had achieved his level by killing other players. He said that they had to go to the meeting place, get away from here as soon as possible before these monsters came. Kai did not like it. You must always be on the alert with such a team. The two of them had already reached the meeting place. All the players had already gathered too. Kai was the last of these players to arrive. Everyone was just waiting for him. Rosé was sitting on a rock, the strongest player in her previous life. She would have to get rid of her. And then she began, since everyone was assembled, then she could go to fulfill the task. And so they all went on missions. All the players followed Rosé. Kai was happy to meet him. First of all, he would get rid of all the villains in this game, and they would not have time to level up before the destruction of the world. The game will take place near the tower in which the experiments were carried out. Entering the dungeon, the main character became alert. Now he must always be on the alert. In the game, they were met by a puppet. The essence of the game was that one of the players would have it. This must be calculated within 5 hours. The main character opened the message to read the essence of the task that needs to be completed. He was surprised because this dungeon is specially created for those who want to get the reward of a hopeless situation. Kai didn't check his backpack right away, in case the puppet was in his possession, and he would betray himself in surprise or fright. All the guys started checking their backpacks to make sure they didn't have a puppet. Then Rosé spoke. telling the player who had the puppet to give himself away. Even if they killed him, they would give half of what they won here. While everyone was distracted by Rosé's speech, the main character decided to check his backpack. As luck would have it, the puppet turned out to be with the main character. Just great luck for him. Kai thought about how to make sure that no one would understand that he had a puppet. All the guys began to discuss it vigorously so that the player with the puppet would give up. Suddenly, Rosé flew up to Kai and said that she knew that the protagonist had a puppet, and let him better not try to resist, and then he will get half of what they get. All the players stared at the main character. Now everyone knew that he had a puppet. Kai realized that they had long since verified that he had the puppet and not someone else's. Kai decided not to give up, especially since he still wanted to kill them all to raise his level. She liked it, the fact that the main character shows his perseverance, but he is much weaker than all of them. Even the boar himself said that it would be better for him to surrender in a good way. Otherwise, he would not get anything. Rosé laughed maliciously. She already imagined how they killed the main character. But it wasn't like that. Kai pointed a gun at her, saying that she was going to die. Rosie began to pretend that she was scared, especially since firearms in this world are the worst. Even the other players laughed after the protagonist took out a gun. Rosie continued to mock the main character and his confidence. Kai got tired of all this, and he fired a shot. At the last moment, Rosé managed to jump away. She was frightened after all. This shot was completely different. She felt that it had power. Immediately after that, Kai used his power on the hog. He chained him so that he could not move. Rosé was surprised that the main character had such skills. And so Kai aimed directly at the hog. All that remained was to pull the trigger. A shot rang out. The bullet flew straight at the target. The boar could not even dodge. He dropped dead in front of the other players. Everyone was shocked by it. There was surprise on the faces of the players. No one expected such an outcome of events. Kai was glad. Now it would be much easier for him to deal with the others. Rosé, who recently laughed at the main character, changed her face. It was clear from her that she was furious. Now Kai was like a monster in the eyes of the other players. They all realized that he was stronger than they thought. Kai said that one of them had a puppet now, and he should find him as soon as possible. Rosé was furious. She wanted to attack the main character and knock this arrogance off him. But still, she stopped in time, realizing that he was provoking them in this way. She told everyone to stay together. But Kai had already figured out who got the puppet. Cookie had it. Kai decided to finish what he started right away and kill Cookie, getting her equipment and leveling up. With one jerk, Kai rushed towards Cookie to destroy her. Rosé also ran to the meeting to protect her and not let Kai win. She repelled his attack. Saving Cookie, she turned out to be very fast. Rosé didn't want to give up so quickly and said that she would kill the protagonist. And then she abruptly disappeared from the main character's field of vision. He did not even notice where she went. And then she inflicted damage from behind. The main character could not put defense. But right at that moment, he struck back at Rosé. She hadn't expected such agility. Barely in time, she repelled Kai's attack. While Kai looked at her with tower eyes, she saw that he wanted to kill her. Here, the main character used a recovery potion. Rosé was shocked by this, because he restored health so quickly. While she was thinking about it, Kai lunged at Rosé to kill her. But at the last moment, it bounced back and Kai didn't do any damage. She realized that she had underestimated the main character. He turned out to be much stronger than she imagined. And the main character liked all this, the way he tortured Rosé. But then she completely relaxed and said that Kai would not succeed anyway. Maybe she herself will kill Cookie and the dungeon will be completed. But then the main character ran out of abilities. Now he has become as before. And then Cookie takes and kills Rosé. Everything that the main character planned so much goes down the drain. When Rosé dissolved, she was happy that Kai was never able to win and pass this level. Kai did not expect this. The fact that Cookie herself would kill Rosé was not part of his plans. Rosé disappeared with a snide smile on her face, rejoicing at the loss of the main character. Kai's legs even buckled from the incident. He collapsed to the floor, dropping his weapon. He couldn't believe what had happened because he was so close to winning. But he quickly pulled himself together and said that he would find a way out of here and would definitely pass this dungeon. He checked at what distance the game was taking place in general. The place for the game was not very large. Kai jumped to the top of the building to see what else he could do from above. Then he saw a small inscription on the concrete block of this building. He pressed a button. It worked like a secret passage. There is information that, to go further, you need 1,000 points. For the main character, this is a lot. You will have to wait a little until the glasses are restored, and he will be able to use this door. After accumulating enough money, Kai was able to move through this door. He found himself in an elevator with a man who kept telling him to make a choice. What Kai chooses, focus on displaying the one who follows you, or dissolve and map everyone. The main character still did not understand what this person wanted from him. But still I had to make a choice. I had to choose one of two things. The guy began to hurry him again, saying that there was no time for this. Kai wondered what the correct answer would be to enter. But then he decided to try to dissolve and map everyone. By pressing this button, something began to happen. The main character began to be transported somewhere. He found himself on the roof of the building again. Nothing had changed. Kai thought that he had made a mistake, and next time he would choose a different one. Several hours had passed before Kai returned, and he was again faced with a choice. Then he remembered that when they entered the game, they had a cast scene. Maybe there was a clue in it. He carefully read one question many times until he made a choice. He decided to press the button again, dissolve and map everyone. Kai slowly carried his finger to the button, afraid that he had made a mistake again. And then he found himself on the roof of the same building again. Nothing had changed. He could only wait again for the points to recover. A couple of hours later, Kai was faced with a choice again. This time, there was no mistake. But he pressed on the same thing, and he was again transported to the roof of the building. But this time, a passage opened up in front of Kai. Finally, he managed to do it. The main character decided to go down the stairs to see what was there. Kai was the only one who managed to get to the hidden level. No one had gone this far before. Then he saw the corpse of a woman in a medical gown, as it was said in the cast scene, that something had happened here. Then some kind of glow was transmitted from the corpse to the main character. Initially, there was warmth in the chest. And then suddenly he felt bad. Kai hit the wall, his weapon dissolved. And then it turned out that the main character went through this dungeon. He coped with the task and got rid of the puppet. Meanwhile, Natalie and Eva were still training at the training center. But Rosé was again with the first level and without power, so she also came to the training center. In the Guildmaster's office, one of the players had the power of support, and he wanted to join the Guildmaster's squad. He said that they did not have such a person in the squad, and they would need him. The Guildmaster agreed to take him on his team because they really needed it. After agreeing with the head, the player left the building of the Hunters Guild. Another player was waiting for him, asking at the same time if he had been accepted into the team to the head. In response, he smashed a nearby pipe. He was unhappy that he would not be the only one in the squad who had support power. Everything did not go as he planned. All his plans were ruined by the main character. After completing a secret mission, the main character received some kind of package. It said about permission for brute force. Now he can participate in high-ranked missions, where the reward will be much greater. He decided to go to freshen up in the shower, but when he left the room, he saw Eva. She had just come out of the bath. When Kai saw her, he was a little embarrassed because he hadn't expected to meet her here. And he also thought about what a wonderful aroma of perfume she had, which made him blush. And then he slapped himself on both cheeks in order to come to his senses and not to think anything of Eve. After the shower, Kai entered the game again. He was already at level 44. He still had 16 levels to level. There was too little time left. He might not have time to reach the 60th level. He also has problems with equipment. They are too expensive to spend money on it. Suddenly, Kai receives a message. He even wondered who it could be. He was confused because a message had come from the head of the guild. He had asked for a meeting. In the previous life, everyone who entered the guild was the strongest. Everyone was afraid of them. They mocked the weak and oppressed them in every possible way. It seems that I attracted the attention of this guild. Kai wondered if it was worth making a deal with such an organization at all. Perhaps in a past life he would have been cowardly, but not here and not now. After Kai completed the secret mission, his strength and level increased greatly. Now he can compete with many. When Kai agreed to take part in the sortie, the head of the guild said that he would receive 100,000 of the secret kingdom for participating. He was also glad that he was able to find a second one with support power, so it would be easier for them to clear the dungeon. The main character slowly began to prepare for a sortie. It will not be easy. He had changed his weapon to a worse one. In order to hide his abilities from them, he had to play it safe. At the gate, the head of the Players Guild, Derek, was already waiting for them. A powerful aura emanated from him. There were also other players who were part of the guild standing nearby. At this point, someone began to wave to Kai, saying that he was also a newcomer to this team. Then Derek told both of them to demonstrate their skills, to show what they were capable of. Robin was the first to try it. He was more relaxed around the others. As he approached the guild master, he began to talk about his skills. Kai was confused. His first ability was a glove weapon, with a range of 1.5 meters, so he had to be close to the target. Then it dawned on Kai, because he didn't know what the range of his gun was, he had never checked it. It also has the ability to regenerate, and regeneration is instantaneous. His next ability that can limit the target, including the boss, well, he will keep the last one a secret, so that if anything happens, he can show it later. Now it's the turn of the main character to show his abilities. He said that he had almost the same thing as Robin. He had the same powers. He can also immobilize the target, which they cannot do no matter how strong they are. Also, the main character has a blessing, thanks to which he can get rid of any abnormal condition. While the last skill, it will also be kept secret. Maybe it will be useful to them in the dungeon. Derek thought about what they had shown him. It wasn't that bad. Turning around, he said that they were moving towards the dungeon. The team was well assembled. As always, Kai was the last to enter the portal, trailing behind the rest of the guys. But now Robin had already begun to plot something against Kai. He wanted to be the only one who had the power of support. Finally, they reached the uncontrolled zone. This is one of the dangerous areas of the dungeons. The surroundings of the uncontrolled zone are determined by the degree of difficulty, according to how many people are in the squad. But even if a squad of 10 is considered the lightest, be on your guard and try not to get involved in battle. So, one by one, everyone jumped into the cliff, leaving the main character behind. Kai, without hesitation, followed his squad to keep up with them. As soon as they landed, they were already spotted by the monsters living here. Derek said that if you see one of the monsters, don't fight it, just run away. Then one of the monsters decided to jump on the players, but could not get to them. He was grabbed by a huge hand, and it just flattened this monster. It was the boss of this dungeon. Seeing this, one of the players said that it was time to get out of here. He saw the boss of this dungeon moving towards him at high speed. The guild leader commanded them all to retreat, for this monster would kill them without any problems. Everyone rushed away from this boss. On the way, Robin asked one of the players why they didn't fight him. The monster was catching up with a group of fleeing players. It was useless to fight with him, because before that, he had no problem killing the entire squad. One of the players began to distract the boss from the team and ran in a completely different direction. Robin noticed this. He thought that now was the time to get rid of the main character. He used his last ability on the protagonist, which was to lure monsters. All the monsters living here smelled the bait. Even the boss of the dungeon stopped chasing the player and ran in the other direction. Kai ran as fast as he could after the squad leader, trying to break away from his pursuers. But then one of the monsters swooped down on him and knocked him off his trajectory, dragging him far away from the team. The guys from the team were shocked why they were all monsters. They rushed after Kai at once. Derek ordered everyone to go for cover, and he himself will go and help the main character. All the players were shocked. They did not want to let the commander alone because this is certain death. Then Robin ran up and said that we had to get to a safe place, and the commander would deal with it himself. In the end, the entire team ran to safety, leaving the commander and Kai alone. Running to the aid of the main character, one of the monsters ran into Derek. He tried to repel the attack, but the monster's skin was too thick. The sword could not penetrate it. Derek saw a lot of monsters running towards the main character, all of them attacking him. But then Kai used his hidden weapon. He used the freeze buff. All the monsters scattered in different directions. It was such a powerful weapon. But then the boss of the dungeon appeared. He rushed at the main character at great speed. The boss was already next to Kai and swung his huge paw at him. But at the last moment, Kai stopped him and pointed a gun at him. A shot rang out and a ringing silence fell. It was not clear who won. Then the dungeon boss collapsed to the ground with a crash. Kai overpowered him with one shot. He stood there not even out of breath. It seemed that this was only a warm-up for him. Derek could not believe that he saw the main character so strong that he could defeat the boss of the dungeon. With one jerk, Kai flew up to the head of the players' guild. It was so fast and unexpected. I rushed past him, saying that it was time for them to leave before it was too late. The guys hiding in a safe place waited for the commander and Kai to appear. Robin suggests that the rest of the team return, because they will not be able to cope without the commander. But the other guys said that they were still alive and they had to wait a little. Then another player said that they had appeared on the map and were moving in their direction. Robin was surprised because he thought that at least only Derek would return, but not Kai. The rest of the guys were happy with this news that no one was hurt. Then they heard a noise from behind the door. Everyone was alert and grabbed their weapons. Derek and Kai entered the building. They were alive. The crew breathed a sigh of relief, all except Robin. Robin was not pleased with this, saying that the chairman of the new order was a lot of trouble. Derek looked at Kai. Kai decided to look away, making it clear that he didn't want everyone to know about his power. Other players congratulated Derek for saving Kai, and they returned together in one piece. Then the hero of the occasion sat down next to the main character, saying that he was very glad that Kai was alive. The protagonist looked at Robin and said that he had already realized that it was Robin's doing. Robin turned it all into a joke, saying that he wouldn't do that to a friend. Kai said that he had used the blessing ability and calmly removed the mark that Robin had placed on him. He also said that he didn't want to do it initially, but now he would have to kill Robin. And he pointed the gun at Robin, saying that he outplayed him. The rest of the players were at a loss as to why it was Kai who pointed the gun at Robin. One of the players said that all this can be resolved peacefully. It is not necessary to kill someone. All this time, the guild master had been watching this without interfering in what was happening. Until he was dragged into it by Robin, he turned to Derek, saying that Kai had pointed a gun at him, just like that. The atmosphere in the building was heating up. The tension was growing every time. Derek finally intervened. He said that he supported Kai's side, and that, most likely, he is not in vain driving the barrel at Robin. Something happened between them. With a flick of his hand, he grabbed Robin by the throat and pinned him against the wall. Robin, not understanding what was happening, said that Kai had started it all. So why was he being beaten? At this point, Derek turned crimson. He began to change his physical form. Turning into some kind of liquid, it enveloped Robin, who began to suffocate inside, unable to get out. As a result, when the air ran out, he sank dead on the floor in front of the main character. Robin's body disappeared, and Derek returned to his original body. If he hadn't done so, it was likely that Kai would have killed them all. Seeing that he was capable, Derek did not want to become enemies with him. Immediately afterward, he invited Kai to join his party and the Guild of the New Order. Other players were shocked that the chairman himself was proposing this. Kai decided to find out what the price of joining their guild was before he could decide it. Derek told what the price of joining their guild is. If they need to, they can take the main character's equipment. Kai was not satisfied with the fact that he would raise the levels for someone, and if suddenly everything would be taken away from him. Derek told Kai to think about it, as he would have many benefits if he joined their guild. Kai thought about it, but offered them another option. He said that they could be allies. Such a statement surprised everyone present that Kai refused to join. But that was enough for Derek. It was better to be on good terms with such a person. If this had been offered to the main character in a past life, perhaps he would have agreed like a fool. Then Derek received a notification. Another team that had gone to the same dungeon before failed to cope with the task. But there is a strong player here. Perhaps thanks to his abilities, it will be possible to complete this dungeon. The squad of the New Order works smoothly. It consists of a central tank, a meat lover, and a support tank. Next come the support damager, who cuts everyone with a two-handed sword. Also the main damage dealer, which kills enemies on the sly. With such a team, the level of the main character increases slightly. It is not for nothing that he chose this team. At last, they came to what Derek had been looking for so long. His eyes tanned with joy. To replace the deceased Robin, Derek summoned Grom, the same one that Kai was fighting a copy of. Grom, who entered the top 5 players, is the strongest player in this world. Grom approached Kai and said that he had heard about him, that he was comparable to a toe on his foot. Kai did not like it, the way Grom communicated with him. He was not used to this. In order not to escalate the situation, Derek told Grom not to get the boy. The rest of the players took the hint and dragged Grom away from Kai until they fought. Derek apologized for Grom, saying that he had such a temper, and entered the portal. Kai didn't say anything to this and followed the command into the portal. The main character thought that the last days with the guys went well. He would like to have such a team, but these were just stupid thoughts. Entering the portal, they again came across a cast scene from this dungeon. There was some kind of laboratory where an experiment was conducted. But the experiment got out of hand, and the thing they were growing here attacked them. At the last moment, the surviving student managed to lock her in the laboratory before she killed him. All players have appeared on the edge of the forest in the dungeon. They just need to figure out the purpose of the task. Each player was given a bottle, told that it could not be put in the inventory, and it should not be allowed to break. If you break the bottle, you die. Kai carefully examined the liquid in the bottle. Suddenly, a huge snake appeared from the forest. While all the players were looking at their bottles, they did not notice it. At this point, they all turned around at once at the loud noise behind them. They were surprised at how huge the snake was. She let out a long, loud growl, which made everyone's ears plug. And those who stood closest to it, their bottles broke, they all died. The commander ordered everyone to retreat away from the snake and cover their bottles. Kai took his fighting posture, ready to attack the snake at any moment. But then at the huge snake, Grom ran headlong. He was not afraid of anything. The rest of the guys shouted after him that he was crazy, that he was going into battle without tactics. Thunder dealt a powerful blow to the snake, but it did not bring any harm to it. She opened her mouth and simply swallowed Grom. He didn't even have time to avoid the attack. Everyone was shocked by what they saw. They did not expect that the strongest player would be killed so easily. Then Derek noticed that the bottles of all the players were starting to light up somehow. He looked at his bottle. The liquid in it had changed color. Then everyone received a notification from Grom that he was alive, but he was inside this snake. The commander ordered them all to run to the target. They needed at least someone to run to the laboratory. The whole crowd headed towards the laboratory until the snake returned. Derek ran and thought that it was not necessary to run to the laboratory. The main thing was that they did. One of the players said that the kite is coming back again and rushing at high speed in their direction. They stopped abruptly, wondering how to make sure that no one died. Then suddenly the serpent attacked the captain, trying to swallow him. At the last moment, he turned into a bloody shell and escaped the attack of the serpent. Players ran to the captain's aid, striking the snake, but it did not damage it. Her armor was so powerful that they flew off on impact. The serpent decided to let out its deafening roar again to kill the players in the vicinity. He was still able to hit one of the players with this roar. This player also died. The others didn't expect this. The snake was too strong. They had already lost 4 people. Then the snake aimed at the captain, and their eyes met. Derek thought that since bottles could not be put in the inventory, the snake could kill everyone with just one roar. Even Kai himself couldn't believe it, that half of the team was already dead. At this rate, they would all lose. After the death of one of the team members, the snake crawled away from the players again. From the bottles came some kind of glow again. It was some kind of clue. Derek realized that after the death of one of the crew members, the snake retreats for a while. The main character also thought about it, because he realized that Derek wants to achieve a perfect passage of this dungeon. Derek again commanded to run to the laboratory before the serpent came again. They all ran towards the laboratory, one of the players watching the map to warn of the approaching serpent. The players said that the serpent had reappeared on the map, and it was moving towards them at high speed. Derek ordered one of the players to break his bottle. This would help distract the kite for a while. One of the players followed Derek's order and broke his bottle, sacrificing himself. Already on the horizon, he could see the laboratory. Kai knew that as soon as he ran there, Derek would want to get rid of him. So the 4 of them ran to the laboratory. Kai was already ready for a fight with Derek. He stopped abruptly near the entrance, thinking about what he would do next. Derek also stopped with the players, saying why he did not go further. Derek told him to stop his jokes, and they would go to the laboratory. Kai wondered if he should attack them right now, so that it would be unexpected. Derek said that he would not force him, and they would just go inside themselves. Just as he was about to go inside, Kai drew his sword from its scabbard. Although he was ready to fight, he was still wondering if he was doing the right thing. The players, seeing this, began to be indignant, saying that they would trample on him. With one jerk, the main character flew up to the players to strike. One of the players did not have time to repel the attack, so Kai quickly killed him. But I had to fight with the second one. He was more agile. But in the end, he was able to defeat him, because he was no match for the main character. Kai was left alone. Derek was not visible nearby. He hid somewhere. Kai trashed the entire room in search of him, but was never able to find him. He began to call Derek a coward who was hiding from an equal fight. But then Grom appears on the threshold. He still somehow got out of the snake. Derek also appears next to Grom. Finally, they can fight. 2 against 1, Derek said he didn't want this to happen, but there was nowhere to go. The 2 of them simultaneously attacked the main character. He stood in defense. A small scuffle began between them. They tried to kill the main character. Kai strikes towards Grom, But here, he dodges without any problems. They begin to fight together. Derek watches all this from the sidelines. Although Kai hits the target, Grom manages to dodge in the last seconds. But then Kai abruptly changes his trajectory and attacks Derek. Even Grom did not expect this. At the last moment, Derek manages to dodge and he enters Grom's body, making him even stronger. Grom liked it because now his stats are twice as good. The main character decided to move to a safe distance and come up with a new tactic. Grom was happy about this, saying that now they will definitely destroy the main character. He even decided to throw down his weapon because in terms of strength, he surpassed the main character. But while Grom was boasting, Kai used his power to immobilize Grom and Derek inside him. And then he just shot Grom, the bullet went out killing him and Derek. Kai touched Grom and Derek's bottles of liquids, so he managed to defeat them. He was able to kill them with one shot. As a reward, he received their abilities and equipment. Picking them up, he was pleased with himself that he was able to cope with Grom and the head of the Guild of the New Order. While Kai was distracted by the trophies, two red eyes appeared behind him. But his instinct did not fail him. He turned sharply. A serpent appeared in front of him. But just as it appeared, it crawled away quickly, all because he destroyed the player's bottles, giving himself time. Wasting no time, the main character ran to the laboratory to complete the task. There was a capsule waiting for him, where he had to place a bottle and create a new kite. Kai wondered why it was necessary to do this, so that these two snakes fought, or so that the first serpent could safely leave this place. Then the main character remembered that he had already gone through a similar dungeon, and the creator was the puppet himself. What if there is also a hidden meaning here, and you need to make the right choice to complete the quest? Incubating a new monster is not necessary to kill this one. And then why is it necessary? Either he is looking for a companion, or it wants to leave this dungeon. To check this, I can only wait. If the serpent appears, then I will simply complete the quest. If not, then I will try to subdue the serpent. Opening the task panel, the main character saw that the members of the New Order had already reached the 50th level. They were not far behind it. And the main character sat down on the step, waiting for the serpent to come for him or not. Then he felt that the kite was in the vicinity, but did not enter the laboratory. Kai decided to wait for him a little longer in the lab for safety. But in the end, the serpent did not come, so the main character himself came out to him. At this point, the serpent was the first to speak to Kai, asking him why he hadn't completed the quest yet. Kai was shocked. As a threat, the serpent raised its tail and struck the ground with all its might, showing its superiority. The main character realized that the players are not a hindrance to the serpent at all, and he can easily kill them. The serpent looked at him, waiting for an answer to what the main character would offer him. Kai said that he could release the serpent from this dungeon, but for this he had to obey him. The serpent towered over the main character and asked if he considered himself worthy of such a thing. Kai replied that he did not, but there was no other way out than to make Kai the master of the serpent. The serpent gave his consent to this. Only the last part remained: it all depends on luck. And so Kai squeezed the glossary to subdue the serpent. The glossary glowed with a bright light. And finally, the main character succeeded. He became the master of the serpent and was able to subdue the soul of the serpent. He informed the serpent that everything went well. Now the two of them can leave this dungeon. As a result, moving the kite into the pistol and thereby improving its stats, Kai left the dungeon. Kai was terribly exhausted because he had spent a couple of days going through this dungeon. Then he remembered that he had not watched his sister's progress for a long time. So he decided to check her out and ask how the game was doing. But he overheard her talking to Eve about him. He blushed at it. And in order not to eavesdrop on anything else, he ran to his room. Thinking about it, he would better learn about everything in the game. Kai is back in the game again. Although he is tired, but there is nothing else to do, he also wrote to his sister. Then he remembered that the Guild of the New Order had never paid him to complete the dungeon. As soon as he thought about it, he immediately received a notification about the transfer of money. It was also strange that the head of the New Order wanted a truce and again cooperate with the main character. But for now, he decided not to bother about it because he needed to improve his equipment. He also received a message from Natalie. Approaching the Mirror Kingdom, exclamations were heard from it. Everyone rejoiced for some two goddesses. These were just Natalie and Ava. They were the strongest and most beautiful girls in the Mirror Kingdom. Even the main character himself did not expect this, that his sister and girlfriend would become so popular. As he drew nearer, he heard others say that they would like to marry them. Everyone was very surprised when Natalie took a step towards Kai. especially the player who was standing next to the main character. Natalie came closer to Kai, and then she suddenly threw herself into his arms, saying that she missed him. Everyone was shocked by this. A roar of disgruntled exclamations swept through the hall. Everyone wanted to kill the main character for seducing their goddess. But then she said that she missed her brother Kai very much. Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It was only her brother. Ava watched all this with a smile, and she also received a message. Someone was watching them from around the corner. They said that the girls refused to cooperate with them. The captain was unhappy with their refusal and said that they needed to be dealt with if they did not take their side. Kai was getting heavier to breathe by the second, and he was very surprised at how strong his sister had become. Then unexpectedly, people from the backyard group entered the hall. They were all heading towards the girls. Kai and the girls saw this. The main character tensed up a little. They all surrounded them, saying, if they did not want to do it in a good way, then everything will be done in a bad way. The main character put out his hand, saying that they should not take another step. Otherwise, he would kill them all. But Natalie said that she would deal with it herself and went out to meet the captain of the guild. The captain ordered her boys to seize the girls and punish them for their disobedience. But then other players intervened in this scrape, telling them to leave them alone, to which the captain angrily said, if you don't want to die, then don't meddle in your own business. This frightened the players who decided to stand up for their goddesses. Their determination immediately left. But even this was pleasant for Natalie. She thanked them and told them not to sacrifice themselves for her. But then Ava intervened, saying that it was unfair because they refused to cheat money from the players standing there. Why shouldn't they interfere if all this connects them as well? Then everyone thought about these words because the girls' problems began because of them, because they refused to cheat other players. The captain said that Natalie could not count on their help just because of a couple of words spoken. But still, this speech affected the players, especially since their brother-in-law was here. They could not give up and stood up for Natalie. The captain was shocked by this turn of events. She did not expect it. They were too few to fight back with other players. They were surrounded by them. She continued to threaten them, saying that they would kill anyone who was there. But this did not affect in any way. Still, the players broke every person from the backyard guild. After all these events, the main character and his sister with a friend stood and discussed what had happened. Natalie said that when they first arrived, they were received very well. They were taught everything, so they owe them something. And she really liked that today these guys stood up for them, not afraid to go against the guild. But this is not the end. It was just a small skirmish. There will be many more such skirmishes. Kai noticed how quickly his sister had grown up. She was no longer so weak and defenseless. It was very good. Natalie said that they should continue to unite in order to throw the backyard guild out of this place. Then unexpectedly, a lot of people from the backyard appeared near the Mirror Kingdom. The main character was just coming out of there, and he saw how these people had gathered, but he did not even suspect anything. He just went on with his business, not paying any attention to them. But then, unexpectedly, several players from the backyard guild swooped down on him. They were all brought by the backyard guild captain, Rosita. She was very pleased with herself that she would finally teach all these players a lesson. All this reached Natalie. The rest of the players were frightened that Rosita came with the army. But Natalie commanded that there was nothing to be afraid of. They were just the same players as them, so together they would fight back. One of the players ran over to see how many people had come from the backyard guild. But as soon as they all stepped outside, they were all shocked by what they saw. In the middle was Kai with a weapon, and there was no one else nearby. He single-handedly destroyed all the players. Everyone was surprised at the strength of the protagonist, since he single-handedly defeated the backyard guild squad. After everything that had happened, the backyard guild leader was unhappy with what had happened in the Mirror Realm. His subordinate stood in front of him and apologized, saying that he had made a mistake. The head of the guild sentenced him to 20 days rest. The player was very surprised by the punishment of the guild leader because it was not so severe. The head of the guild said that after he returned, there was a job for him about the main character. He also asked if they had found any information about the main character. They found out that he was connected to the Guild of the New Order a couple of times. He cleared the dungeons with them. This means that this strong player is the man of the guild leader of the New Order of Derek. In any case, soon they will appear in the uncontrolled zone, and then it will be possible to carry out the plan and kill Kai. Kai barely escaped from the hands of the other players, After he killed the people from the Backyard Guild, they were not far behind him, but for that, he received a lot of equipment from the players he killed, and also received a lot of essence to upgrade weapons. And so he finally leaves the Mirror Kingdom, hoping that he will not meet anyone along the way. But his plans were ruined, and Derek, the head of the Guild of the New Order, was waiting for him around the corner. Kai turned to look at him, and it was strange to see him here, and that he himself decided to meet the protagonist. Sitting in the cafe, Derek said that he really needed Kai to go to the destruction zone. The main character was very surprised by this. In a previous life, the squad that went to the zone of destruction never returned. Derek said that what was very important was what was hidden there, the power that bestowed complete power over the primordial realm. But this did not surprise the main character in any way, because the last time, they wanted to kill him when they went on a mission together. Derek said that there were circumstances then, and now they need a man like Kai, and they definitely won't do anything. Kai stared at Derek intently, not knowing whether to believe his words or not. Derek said, "Believe it or not, but his offer still stands. Let Kai think about it." The main character said that it could happen, that he would be cheated again. Kai could not take such a risk. Derek said that this time it is different, and there can only be 3 to 4 people in the team, as this is not enough, so it will not be beneficial for them to betray him. Kai thought about it. This was too risky a proposition. This proves that I want to cooperate with you. If I wanted to kill you, I would call you to the dungeon again, Derek said. He got up from the table and said that he was giving him time to think it over, and in the meantime he was leaving. The main character sat and pondered, especially since he did not know what really happened to the group that went to the zone of destruction. Now Kai was slowly leaving the cafe, you never know. Maybe he would meet someone again. Reaching the store, the main character opened the store. After receiving the 50th level, you can add characteristics to the weapon. Kai had a headache because there was so much to pump, and it was all very expensive. If he wanted to increase his equipment to level 50, he would need to spend 9,000 essences. He opened the inventory to see how many essences he ended up having for killing a squad. Kai was glad because he just had enough essence to upgrade his equipment. After leveling up, the main character felt a surge of strength and energy. The next step is to give additional characteristics of each piece of equipment. In order for the main character to strengthen all his equipment, he will need 2 days and 2 nights. While he was waiting for this, he decided to go to level up his level in the dungeons. But then he remembered that in order to go swinging in the dungeon, you need a team, and now you can't find it anywhere. He sat upset, not knowing what to do, because now he has nothing to do. But then he remembered Derek's words that he was waiting for his consent to a mission to the zone of destruction. How difficult and dangerous it is, soon the main character's brain will explode. Then he remembered that there is one game in the tower. If you complete it, you will get cool things, including a return orb. And the main character went to this tower to complete the levels and receive rewards. Approaching the tower, it looked very large. It had 21 floors. If you went through everything, you would get a return orb and much more. Only 2 players were preparing for this game. They were both members of different guilds. Then they were joined by Kai, who would also participate in this competition. The 3 of them went to the first floor of the tower to fight to victory. Louis and Hugh noticed how Kai entered this game along with those players. They were immediately happy about this and opened bets to earn some money. So, Kai got to the first floor of this tower. Everything is almost like in a mirror kingdom. You destroy the guard and move on to the next floor. Kai took out his weapon and was fully prepared for battle. He was confident of his victory. The Guardian suddenly appeared next to Kai with one jerk, striking him. The main character parried his attack without any problems. The Guardian did not expect this. And with the next blow, he destroyed this guard and moved to the next floor. Meanwhile, Louis and Hugh had already opened the bets. As always, they had bet on Kai. They were confident in him. Until they saw that except for the 2 of them, no one else had bet on Kai, they became scared. At this time, Kai had already dealt with the second guard and moved to the 3rd floor. For him, everything was easy so far. If he continued like this, then he would easily pass this tower. Now he had already reached the 7th level. A Guardian appeared, who had all the characteristics pumped. He was different from the others. But he strikes at the main character. Kai did not even worry about it. He also made a swing, preparing to crush the guard with one blow. All the players were shocked that the main character reached the 7th floor, but one of the players said that it is a common thing to reach the 7th floor, but if he passes it, then it is another matter. But he was sure that Kai would not be able to pass the 7th floor. After all, he was just an ordinary player. But his jaw dropped from what he saw. Kai was able to pass the 7th floor and now move to the 8th. In the meantime, the battle with the guard of the 8th floor had already begun. Kai swung his sword, but he unexpectedly moved behind the back of the main character and stabbed him in the back. As a result, Kai responded with several blows to him, showing that he had no equal here. All the players were at a loss. Where did such a strong player come from, who calmly competes with the strongest from the guild? But one of the players kept saying that this was just luck, and he would not be able to beat the best players from the guild. The strongest player from the Skyscraper Guild is fighting the Guardian at this time. With one crushing blow, he smashed the guard of this floor, thereby moving on. He watched as the guard he had just killed dissolved. The player was happy with the victory of Nick from the Skyscraper Guild. He called this guild the best. The others noticed that Kai was also able to pass the 14th floor with Nick. He looked at Kai in disbelief, saying that he would soon be out of the game. Meanwhile, Kai killed the guard of the 14th floor and walked on. So far, everything suited him, because he easily dealt with the guards and reached the 15th floor. Nick also moved to the 15th floor, the first time he had walked this far. On the 15th floor, a guardian was already waiting for him. From this floor, the guards had already begun to gain abilities. Nick noticed that the guard was very strong. He had to be careful, but still, he was not afraid of losing. And so they collided in a duel. Each raised his hand to strike. But the 15th floor guard struck with such force that Nick simply flew away from him and was killed by this blow. In the lobby, all the people were surprised that the best player of the Skyscraper Guild had lost again. Bill was dripping with sweat. He hadn't expected this player to lose in the tower. Now he took out the guild badge of the hideout and began to cheer for them. Kai fought the Guardian at the 15th level. He fought off his attacks. It was a surprise to him that the Guardian had abilities. It was a bit difficult now, because he couldn't damage the guard. The guard always had regeneration. Therefore, the main character decided to use the skill and use the blessing. Meanwhile, Rick from the Vault Guild had moved to the next floor. He was also on the 15th floor like the main character, and this guard also had abilities. He decided to attack first, pounced on the guard. The Guardian set up a defense against his attack. With the help of the blessing skill, the main character was able to defeat the guard on the 15th floor. Then Kai received a notification that after the 15th floor, additional reinforcement would be given for the next floor passed. All the players were shocked that Kai was able to pass the 15th floor and went to the 16th. Even Bill himself was a little tense from how strong the main character was. But in addition to Kai, Rick had also moved to the 16th floor, so Bill was very happy about it. But less than a second later, Rick died on the 16th floor. All the players were in shock. Then Bill immediately changed his shoes and said that the best were single players and began to root for Kai. When Rick moved to the 16th floor, he was already too tired. A 16th floor guardian was waiting for him, and he had only one ability. He had his intellect pumped in. Therefore, Rick thought that he could easily deal with him and attacked the guard first. But the guardian dodged his attack. Rick did not expect it. He hoped to defeat him with one blow. And then the guard struck back at Rick. The blow was so strong that Rick was sent straight to the lobby. On the 16th floor, the main character had a guard with completely different abilities. He can avoid death. A guard with such skills was dangerous. It would be difficult to deal with him, the main character thought. But there was nowhere to go, and he engaged him, dealing damage to the guard first. The guard was able to dodge calmly, but the second blow still hit the guard, and the main character took his life. After that, they continued to fight, and the hero struck him another blow. So he was able to defeat the guard of the 16th floor and move on. The 17th floor guardian had 3 abilities: explosive strikes, a blood exchange, and a barrier. Rick went to the waiting room. Nick was already waiting for him there. He asked how he died. Rick leaned back and said, "Let Nick be the first to tell about it, on which floor he died." Nick, getting up from the floor, said that he had reached the 15th level, but the guard had a skill that Nick did not know about. This guardian had the ability to explosive strikes, so he was able to kill him with one hit. At that moment, Nick lost all his equipment, and he was completely unarmed and could not resist the guard. Meanwhile, the main character, being at the 17th level, was ready for battle. They rushed towards each other to crush. Someone had to win. But when struck with swords, the main character lost all his equipment. He was completely unarmed. He hadn't expected such a turn of events. The guard of the 17th floor was too strong. The Guardian ran into the protagonist again, using the abilities of the barrier and blood exchange. But at this moment, Kai used a blessing, and it helped him hit his opponent, taking away all his lives. In this way, he was able to defeat the guard of the 17th floor and move on. The main character still has one more use of the blessing, but he did not worry because he also has a snake. But then a notification pops up that the serpent does not want to fight. Kai was confused because he is his master. The 18th level guardian exuded power. The protagonist could feel it, but he knew that he would defeat him. Kai took a stance of readiness for battle because the enemy was strong. In the waiting room, Nick asked Rick how he died because Rick had gone further than him. Rick said that there was a guard with high intelligence and also possessed of power. Nick was shocked by what he heard. He clutched his head, saying how they would be able to defeat such strong opponents. It wasn't even fair. Kai decided not to wait long and struck the guard first. He ran towards him at full speed. But the Guardian could calmly parry his attack. These were already more serious levels, not like before. And he was able to attack the main character. Kai did not expect this, so he missed this attack. After this, he decided to go into battle at a long distance, took out a pistol and opened fire on the experience. He hit the guard directly in the head, but it had no effect. There was no damage. The Guardian went on the attack on the main character. It was felt that if he hit Kai, he would not survive it. Kai slowly began to retreat, parrying all the attacks of the guard. It was very difficult for him to fight. But the Guardian did not know fatigue. He continued to attack Kai. The main character understood that he could not cope alone, but the snake did not want to help either. So he told the snake that he would destroy the gun if it did not help him. There was no answer from the kite, so Kai decided to get rid of the kite and destroy the gun. The guard had already made a swing for the last blow. The serpent finally answered. He said that an equal exchange was needed. Kai agreed to this. Then a powerful roar would be released from the pistol, which threw the guard away from the main character. And then a serpent appeared from the pistol. It was so huge and powerful, the guard did not care about it. Kai went on the attack with such a strong assistant with him. Now the main character felt that he was superior in strength to the Guardian. Rick said that it was time to leave the waiting room. A joyful crowd would be waiting for them. And they left the waiting room in the hope that now they will be deified and praised. But when they came to the lobby of the tower, no one even paid attention to them. Then Rick saw that the third player was still in the game, and he was already on the 18th floor. Nick had the same reaction. He was just shocked that there was a player stronger than them, while not being a member of the guild. Meanwhile, in the city of the game, there were rumors about Kai that he had already reached the 18th floor, defeating the strongest players from the guild. All the players watched how the main character's game continued. Everyone was interested in which floor he would reach. And Rick and Nick were standing. They couldn't believe their eyes, that is. Such a strong player without a guild. Bill immediately approached them, saying that loners are the strongest players in this game. But then they were all even more shocked when they found out that Kai had reached the 21st floor. Then one of the players recognized him and said that he was their brother and began to shout to the whole hall, calling him brother. He was supported by the other players, and the whole hall was filled with a roar. They were all cheering for their brother. The 21st floor, the very last floor of the tower, and most likely the most difficult. The main character was ready for all surprises. He was already very careful. At this point, Kai decided to use the blessing of the soul for the last time. Only this time, not himself, but the snake. The serpent has become twice as strong. All its stats have increased. The main character faced the guard. They fought on equal terms. It was noticeable how much stronger he was than the previous ones. The fight was so crushing, but Kai still did not give up and parried all the attacks of the guard. The fight was too long, and although Kai used the blessing, he couldn't easily defeat the guard. Here is Kai making his main dash towards the enemy in order to kill him. But he successfully dodges the lunge of the main character. Unfortunately, it was not possible to kill him in one go. At this moment, he once again used the blessing ability to finish off the guard. But the Guardian stepped back in time, realizing what danger he could find himself in. Kai was surprised because this Guardian had all the abilities of the other Guardians. He was the most powerful of all. And using these skills, he rushed at the main character with renewed vigor. It happened so quickly that Kai didn't have time to react, and the Guardian inflicted damage on him. After this blow, the main character lost all his equipment. Now he was completely unarmed. But at the last moment before the strike, the serpent used his ability. He made shields for the main character. There are only 4 shields left, and after that, Kai will be completely defenseless. He needs to come up with something. The main character realized that so far, he could not match anything with him, so he decided to stall for time and ran away from the guard. If the main character manages to pass this tower, then he will become the strongest player in this game. And then finally he comes up with an idea of how to defeat this guardian. It takes another half a minute before the blessing is recharged. The main thing is to maintain this time. Therefore, the main character begins to run around the hall from the guardian in order to delay time. He also remembered that he had the skill of an architect. He decided to use it. But each time giving commands, the architect did not follow his orders, as they did not comply with the rules. Running away from the guard, the main character thought about what command to give the architect to use this skill. Finally, he comes up with a team that the architect can execute. It was the command that the blessing would not have a cooldown. Now he was completely in control of the situation. Having received such power, he decided to immediately use it on guard. Thanks to the use of this skill, all the characteristics of the main character were increased and did not have a cooldown. He dealt a powerful blow to the guard. All the players were happy with Kai's victory. He was the first player to walk the entire tower to the end. The main character received about 300,000 essences and a return orb. No sooner had Kai appeared in the lobby near the tower than all the players congratulated him on the passage and rejoiced at it. Kai again attracted a lot of attention, although he himself did not want to. But now he had what he needed so much, and so he could safely agree to a deal with Derek. Now I need to deal with the serpent because I promised him something in return. You need to take his request seriously and try to fulfill it. Then the serpent replied to the main character that he wanted to be free. The serpent also told Kai to take him to the edge of the world. This is exactly where Derek goes. Kai was surprised. But to do this, you need to make improvements in the store, because now the main character has a lot of essences. But to level up a snake, you need 300,000 essences. That's almost all he has earned. It's too expensive. The serpent said that with this, he would be able to help the protagonist in the destruction zone, and without it, he would not be so strong. The main character had no choice but to agree and buy an upgrade for the kite. Now Kai could go to the dungeons completely alone. He wanted to level up to the 60th level. And so I went into the portal, and I was very glad that I missed something. Usually you need a squad to enter the dungeon. In the dungeon, he fought various monsters and destroyed bosses. Finally, he was able to raise his level to the 60th. The protagonist fulfilled his goal. After leveling up, the main character received a notification that now, for improvements, he needs computing power. After the protagonist increased the serpent's strength, the serpent said that he could choose any ability he wanted. Without hesitation, Kai said that he wanted the barrier ability. Not a bad choice, the serpent said. But in order to get this ability, you need to accept and agree with everything that will now appear on the screen. After the main character agreed, he was thrown into the world where this serpent lives. But before he could do anything, the tail of a snake was rushing at him at high speed. He pressed the main character into the ground. It was too unexpected. The serpent said that in order to gain the barrier ability, you first need to overcome it. And so the battle of the main character with his assistant serpent began. 2 days later, Kai was finally able to defeat this serpent. Now it had the ability to barrier. He was very happy about this because this ability was very powerful. The next day, Kai dressed in dress pants and a shirt. He needed to go somewhere. When my sister saw him, she was happy. She said that her brother looked beautiful, and she also had a bag with accessories. Then she went up to her brother and said that the top button should be unbuttoned. They came to the grave of their parents. Today was the day when it was necessary to visit them. They put all the preparations near the graves, put ritual candles. Then they were joined by a friend of their parents, Bob, who was glad to see them. When they met, he immediately patted the top of Kai's head, asking how he was doing. And then Natalie got in again, saying that Bob needed to have a wife, as he had promised their parents. Bob freaked out a little, saying that it was not good to talk about this girl like that. Together they burned paper. It was their custom. In China, everyone does this. It was Bob who suggested that the main character start playing this game, and he also asked his uncle how he was doing with the game. It was an unexpected question for his uncle. He said that everything was all right there. But how was Kai doing with the game? His uncle asked. Natalie intervened in this conversation, saying that her brother was the strongest player in this game. Bob was very much surprised by this. and he was also excited. He immediately looked at the main character with a different look, as if he was plotting something. The memorial meeting was over, and Kai and Natalie went home, saying goodbye to their uncle. Bob sat down near the graves of Kai and Natalie's parents and apologized for dragging Kai into all this. Then Natalie said that one of her favorite players was missing. She was neither in the game nor in the real world. Then Kai remembered that before the primordial realm took over the world, all the creators of the game disappeared. Kai told his sister that he needed to go home to play as soon as possible in order to level up further. Sitting on the bed at home, the main character was thinking about whether to agree to a deal with Derek. Perhaps this way he will be able to find out what the game really is. He finally decided to go with Derek to the zone of destruction. After making a decision, the protagonist immediately entered the game to give an answer to Derek. But before that, you need to use the Sphere of Return. Do it this way, just in case. After that, he went to meet with the head of the Guild of the New Order, Derek. He took advantage of his abilities as an architect and blessing. And as long as it was in effect, he used the Sphere of Return. In case of death, he would simply return to the starting point. The next day, the players from Derek's guild were ready. But there were not only players from the Guild of the New Order, there were also players from the Guild of the Backyard. As well as from the other guilds, they all came together to go to the destruction zone. The main character was walking to his group, which he joined for a while. The Backyard Guild was sharpening its teeth on the main character. They had already come up with a plan to kill him in the destruction zone. To quickly get to the place of deployment, the guilds used air transport. Also in the team of the New Order was Rose. She greeted the main character. It was alarming. Also in the team was Grom, whom the main character killed last time. He wanted to take revenge. And of course, there was the head of the Guild of the New Order, Derek. He didn't really show his motives. Under normal circumstances, players wouldn't be able to level up to level 60th, but they had power and money, so they leveled up so quickly. The guild leader of the Backyard had already come up with a plan to get rid of the main character, especially since he was not a member of the guild. He wrote in the general chat of a separate guild from the Guild of the New Order that he just needed to attack him altogether, and then he would not have a chance. While the flight was going on, there were talks. It was said that reconnaissance detachments had not returned from the destruction zone. So there's no point in going to this zone if they don't all want to die, said the head of the Vault Guild. Then Grom began to appear so that they would stop driving the barrel to the Guild of the New Order. One of the players of the Guild of the Vault only added fuel to the fire to further infuriate Grom. Then Grom could not stand it anymore and took out his weapon, saying that then let them fight him. The head of the Vault Guild did not miss this chance and said that he agreed to arrange a duel. Grom also did not refuse the duel. He was a strong player and knew that he would win. But then a player from the Backyard Guild intervened, saying that it was not interesting to start a duel with strong players. Let's start with beginners, and pointed the finger at the main character. Kai calmly stood up, agreeing to a duel with a player from the Backyard Guild. The head of the Guild of the New Order did not like this, and he told his squad to be on guard. 2 players came to the center, the main character and a player from the Backyard Guild. Everything will be decided here and now. But then unexpectedly, the whole crowd attacked the main character. He knew that it would be so. Even during the loading on the plane, Kai thought that the guilds were clearly up to something, so he was prepared for this. He took a fighting posture, preparing to repel any enemy attacks. Their surprise did not work. They could not kill the main character with one blow. But when he ran towards the guild head of the Backyard, he sensed danger from behind. All the other players rushed at him again in a crowd, knowing that he was a strong player. Kai knew that there was nothing he could do now. He just wouldn't have time to defend himself. And at the last moment, Rose pulls him out of this scrape. If not for her, he would have died now. The entire Guild of the New Order stood up for the protagonist, asking the others what they had done here. Players from other guilds were unhappy that the Guild of the New Order intervened in this. The 2 heads stood opposite, staring at each other, Derek waiting for Shane's answer. Shane said that nothing terrible happened, it was just a small warm-up. The Guildmaster of the New Order was furious at such an answer, but he restrained himself as best he could. Then one of the players sat down, saying that there was no need to bring it to a fight. It was better to fly calmly. All the players from the other guilds followed suit, and Kai thanked her for saving Rose. Grom also said that Kai could not die like this, because Grom had not yet taken revenge on him. The guild leader of the New Order said that he didn't know anything about it, and now they were on their own. They couldn't trust the other guilds. Finally, the ship took them to the final point. Then they would go on foot. Coming out, the other guilds were together. The Guild of the New Order completely separated from them. The head of the Vault Guild went first, placing shields around him just in case. The head of the Skyscraper also followed them, calling his teammate. Shane just shrugged his shoulders, saying that now the Guild of the New Order on its own. Derek said that it was time for them to go explore the Destruction Zone too. And so one by one, they went deep into the Zone of Destruction. Derek commanded them not to lag behind so as not to lose sight of them. Now we need to stick together. It will be safer for the team. But then something happened. Surprise and confusion could be read on the faces of the main characters. There was a big rift in the middle of the road, and it was into this fault that the main characters fell. They all flew somewhere down. Derek ordered everyone to prepare for landing and inspecting the area. Kai finally landed. He fell successfully without hurting himself in any way. He saw many islands in the sky, all of them heading upwards in a circle. It was a strange place. There were islands flying around. Some of them had buildings. Then Kai received a notification that he had entered the world beyond, and all his stats were lowered by 99%. Now all the characteristics of the main character were almost at zero. Now even a weak opponent will be dangerous for the main character. He got up to look around and realized that he was on a small island. Kai was also asked to name his territory, and a notification was received that the architect did not have a recharge on his territory. After that, a small sprout appeared on the ground, which must be protected by the main character. If it is destroyed, it will die. Then the serpent crawled out of Kai's ring and swallowed this sprout. Kai didn't even have time to react to it. After that, another island was going to their island at great speed. At the last moment before the collision, Kai managed to jump away. From afar, I could see how some monster destroyed the neighboring island into small pieces. This monster was very strong. Now the main character will not be able to cope with it. He saw how after the destruction of the island, some spheres remained. It was computing power. The serpent said that in order to advance higher and fortify your island, you need to destroy other islands and gather computing power. The main character was ready to do this, because there is no other way to get to the top. The serpent also said that after he became the bearer of the membrane, all his power was gone. Now Kai could not rely on him. The serpent said that the main character needs to get to the very top, and then he will pass the zone of destruction. But to get through this, you need to destroy other islands and collect computing power from them. Meanwhile, Kai was being watched by one of the players of the Guild of the Vault. The main character asked the serpent how to break up the islands with the current force. The serpent said that the source of their life is the membrane, the very sprout that the serpent swallowed. If it is destroyed, the island will collapse. Kai had already set his sights on one of the islands. There was some kind of monster there. He went to it. The protagonist made a power-up to his ranged weapon to destroy the island with one shot. And so he fired a powerful shot into the membrane of this island, into its sprout. And he managed to destroy this island. Everything worked. The main character was happy about it. Then the serpent told the main character that he could not leave this island. It remained only for the main character to take all the computing power himself. Computing power wasn't that far away, so you could quickly go get it. And so Kai ran across the small rocks in the direction of the computing power to collect it. Finally, having reached the goal, the protagonist was able to collect all the computing power from this island. In the same way he returned, but his island to a safe zone. The next step will be to gather computing power so Kai can upgrade the kite and his island. All of this was watched by the first level boss. With each island destroyed, Kai attracted more and more of his attention. With each monster kill, the hatred of the first level boss increases. Sooner or later, he will go down for Kai. You need to be ready for this in order to fight back against this monster. Here, the main character decided to find out why the snake needs to get to the very top of the destruction zone. The serpent said that upstairs he wants to take the protagonist to the data center module. This is the same power that Derek was talking about. He wondered how the serpent knew this. The serpent said that all Kai needs to be there is, and he will do everything to guide the protagonist to that place. Then unexpectedly, Kai noticed someone approaching his island. He needed to be ready. It was a first-level boss. He finally found the main character. Kai prepared for a fight. Kai decided to trust the snake completely, because without it, there is no way they will win this fight. He said that he fully trusts the snake and hopes for his help. Meanwhile, the boss island is gradually approaching the main character's island. From a neighboring island, a powerful monster is looking at Kai. It will be difficult to defeat him. Then a kite suddenly appeared. It became large and will distract the boss. The boss was furious and decided to let out a malicious cry to intimidate him. A fight ensued between the boss and the serpent, but the serpent was much weaker than him, so he was only distracting him. Until the main character gets to the tree of this island and destroys it. At the same time, another player from the Guild of Shelter climbed this island. Having climbed onto the island, the main character decided to hurry. It was impossible for the snake to die. Finally, he saw the tree of this boss that needed to be destroyed. It was very large. Approaching it, he didn't know how to destroy it. It felt like it wouldn't take any damage. Kai received a notification that as long as the boss was alive, this tree could not be destroyed. Kai was shocked by this news. Meanwhile, the serpent had less and less health. Kai decided to try to destroy the tree, but it had no effect. Nothing worked. Now the dispel skill would come in handy, which the main character does not have. Another player was watching all this from the sidelines. He did not yet dare to go out to meet the main character. There is nothing left but to kill this boss, and only then deal with this tree. But then the same player from the Guild of Shelter appeared from behind the tree. Kai was glad to meet him, because if he could handle it without Kai's help, he would just watch from the sidelines. He failed to fool Kai, he saw through his plan, now he had to work together. The main character promised to help him with the tree, giving him power, and whether he is afraid that I will kill him later, the player thought. But he still agreed to cooperate with Kai, because it plays into his hands. Only he did not allow the main character to come too close, fearing him. Kai gave the power of blessing to Glenn. Due to this, he would remove the protection from the tree. Glenn felt how powerful he had become, and he called Kai a fool for believing him so easily and giving him power. As they worked together, Kai would give Glenn a boost, and Glenn would take the tree's defenses off. And finally they succeeded. They coped with the task and removed the protection from the tree. Kai was glad that they had dealt with it as a team, but he was still wary. While he was distracted by the boss's roar, Glenn immediately pulled out his weapon to kill him, and he dealt a crushing blow to the main character, hoping to kill him immediately. But at the last moment, Kai bounced off him, avoiding damage. Now the real fun begins. So, the main character begins to prepare for a fight with Glenn. Glenn is sure that he will defeat him. Kai swung his sword to kill Glenn, the dash being too sharp. But at the last moment, the weapon in the hands of the main character disappeared, and he just passed the air. He did not understand where his weapon had gone and how this could have happened. Then it is Glenn's turn. He delivers his powerful blow in the hope that he will immediately kill the main character. But Kai is abruptly transported behind his back. Glenn did not expect such agility. And then he takes out his gun and points it at Glenn's head, saying that he had a trump card. Kai fires a shot and kills Glenn, and the battle is finally over. All that remains is to deal with the boss tree. After all, they have removed the protection from it. The serpent's strength was already running out. It could no longer restrain the boss. But it didn't take much to destroy the tree. It was only necessary to cut it down a couple of times. They coped with it. The serpent said that during the fight they earned 1,500 computing power, where the main character would spend them. To begin with, he decided to raise the level of the serpent to the 10th level, and then he would need to destroy the stone islands. Only then to rise to a higher level. It can be more dangerous there than we think. After his death, Glenn was reborn again on his island. It was surprising that he did not go to the lobby. It turns out that if you have more than 100 computing power, then you do not die, but are reborn on your island. Here Kai has gathered more computing power by destroying other islands. Now it's time to move on to the next level. On the second level, the main character has already noticed one of the islands with monsters. There were some flying insects or birds, because the head was in the shape of a bird and the body was an insect. Fortunately, they did not notice the main character yet, because they were stronger than him. But then a large and powerful monster is moving in their direction. It just swallowed this island with monsters. If he notices them, he can easily swallow them. You need to be careful. But as quickly as he appeared, he disappeared as quickly. Only the fog remained. There were no other islands on the second level, so it will be more difficult to gather processing power. There was emptiness everywhere. Not a single island with monsters was visible. But then Kai came across the largest island on the second level. There were no other islands besides it. He also felt that someone was imperceptibly approaching from behind. It was Eugene from the Backyard Guild. He had also advanced to the second level. He was not hostile, so he immediately offered Kai cooperation. He said that they would not be able to defeat the second-level boss alone, but if they united, then they would succeed. But Kai didn't even listen to him. He just smashed his head with a pistol. He said that it is not profitable to cooperate with the opposing team. It can be dangerous. For killing Eugene, equipment fell out. All that remains is to take it. Kai prepared to jump to Eugene's island, pick up his equipment, and destroy the island. But then suddenly Eugene reappears. He says that he knew that Kai would do this. The protagonist was confused as he failed to kill Eugene. Eugene had only lost 100 orbs of computing power, but since he had enough of it, he was reborn again. Then the main character decided to destroy his tree in order to do away with it once and for all. But he quickly assessed the situation and hid his island and flew away to a safe distance. Now the main character only has to deal with the boss of this level. It will be difficult, but there is no other way to cope with it. There is no more choice. Eugene was unhappy that he had already been killed by Kai. He wanted to take revenge on him. But this island had a boss sitting on his throne. It was a powerful monster. Climbing onto the island, Kai saw two types of monsters, some white, others red. Before they noticed him, he hid behind a rock. He could cope with one such monster, but with a pack. But then Kai heard that the buzzing of these monsters intensified, as if they sensed the main character. A pillar of dust appeared around the bend. Kai turned his attention to it. It was Eugene. He came out of nowhere and tried to touch the main character. Touching it, he handed him his mark. Now all the monsters were aimed at Kai. A horde of flying monsters rushed towards the main character, wanting to destroy him. Eugene also stole Kai's blessing ability. Now he is left without it. After doing so, Eugene ran away from the protagonist, leaving him with the monsters. At this point, the monsters were close to Kai, and he had no choice but to run away from them. While fleeing, he used the ability on Eugene to captivity, chaining and immobilizing him. Meanwhile, he himself was running away from a pack of flying monsters, and Eugene could not move. Running past him, he decided to shoot Eugene, but Eugene had a plan to avoid it. He transferred the ability of captivity to the protagonist himself. Now Kai was immobilized. Eugene ran, leaving the protagonist behind. But Kai used the barrier ability to break the shackles. He was able to free himself. The birds have almost reached the main character, but he did not give up, and once again used the captive ability on Eugene. Eugene was surprised because he hadn't expected that Kai had many of these abilities. Still, Kai had to fight some birds, but he was close to Eugene. Eugene decided to use the Halo of Reflection skill to avoid taking damage from Kai's weapon. But at this moment, Kai used the barrier skill again to absorb the power of cognition from Eugene. Eugene had no strength of knowledge left, and now he could not bet anything against Kai. At that moment, Kai fired his shot, killing Eugene once more. After killing him, he took his glasses and equipment and ran away from the pack of monsters. At last, he reached the edge of the island and jumped over to his island. The birds could not follow him. They flew at the edge of their island. But then, their island began to dive on the island of the main character. A second-level boss appeared in front of Kai, so they faced him. This monster was very powerful and strong. It would be difficult to deal with. But the main character did not give up. He took out a gun and decided to finish off this creature. He also used the captivity ability on him, chaining him so that he could not move. Since Kai was on his island, he had no cooldown in his abilities, and he could safely use it on the boss until he killed him. After he pinned him down, he fired a powerful shot in his direction. But the boss calmly dodged the protagonist's shot. He was also very agile. The boss of this level also has his own abilities, and he canceled the protagonist's captivity ability. So they remained, each on his own island. For some reason, the boss and his monsters cannot move to the island of the main character. This made it much more difficult if the boss also has abilities. Kai sat down. He had to figure out how to destroy the second-level boss. He thought it would be nice if someone's island collided with the boss's island and disabled the architect's ability. Eugene was furious. He once again died at the hands of the main character. He sat down on his throne and began to think about what to do next and what to do. He opened the taskbar and saw that he had killed a large number of bird monsters, and if he killed another 100, he would gain the title and be able to control these monsters. Kai received a message again. It was the same Eugene he had killed twice. Eugene suggested that he cooperate. Otherwise, they would not be able to cope with the second-level boss alone. The main character agreed to this, but said that only Eugene would fight and he would strengthen and heal him. But there was no other choice, especially if he killed another 100 monsters, he would get the title. Kai was surprised that Eugene agreed, because he could safely kill him after the boss was killed. At this point, Eugene had already made a plan on how to get this title. It was too suspicious for Kai that Eugene agreed so easily, and set only one condition. At last they met and immediately decided to get down to business. The main character said that he was ready to improve Eugene's abilities, but he must definitely kill the boss. Eugene specifically asked to let him first kill ordinary monsters and only then take on the boss. So for now, Eugene has begun to deal with monsters in order to eventually get this title. Kai covers his back, firing his weapon at the monsters. At all this noise, the boss finally appeared. He was angry about how his monsters were being killed. Eugene was just a little bit away, and he would get his title and become much stronger than the main character. But then he gets a blow from the boss of this island. From the blow, he flies away. If it weren't for the buff that the protagonist gave him, he would have died from it. He jumped up abruptly and started running away from the boss of this island as he had few lives left. Eugene shouted at Kai to go back to his island. They had caught the boss's attention, and he would need his help. So they began to fight. Kai helped Eugene by restoring and strengthening him, and he fought the boss. Here Eugene received the ability to bless. His stats were doubled. And Kai shouted to Eugene that this is the most powerful buff. Let him try to deal with the boss. Eugene took up arms, and a bloody battle with the boss of this island began. Thanks to the blessing, Eugene fought on equal terms with the boss. Then the boss makes a powerful dash towards Eugene, trying to knock him down. But Kai prevents him, starting to shoot him with a pistol. The boss had to suspend the attack. This was followed by the capture skill. The boss could not move for several seconds. This gave Eugene the opportunity. This was his chance to destroy the boss and become the king of these monsters. The main character continued to shoot the boss with his pistol, gradually causing damage. Eugene decided to do this, to destroy the boss and then the main character. Kai knew that Eugene could not be trusted completely, so he used his trump card. He strengthened his pistol and began to tear down all the armor and lives of the second-level boss. Thus, all that remained was to finish him off, and the boss would be defeated. And then the last shot was fired, which should destroy the boss. The boss collapsed to the ground, finally having no lives and strength left to fight. For Eugene, this was the last chance, and then he will be stronger than the main character. He already felt the taste of victory and how he would deal with Kai. Kai gave Eugene a snide look and said that he was giving him a chance to tell him why he wanted to kill 100 monsters first. But Eugene did not listen to him and decided to deliver the final blow to the king of monsters. But he failed. Kai took him prisoner. Now he was immobilized. Kai didn't even let Eugene explain himself and just shot him. He was finally able to defeat the king of the monsters, as well as Eugene, who wanted to kill him. Then the serpent intervened. He said that before destroying this island, you need to use soul subjugation on these monsters. The main character decided to follow the advice of the serpent and move to the island of monsters. Eugene did not understand where he was now. He was confused. Since he didn't have the processing power, he finally died and lost all levels and equipment. Kai destroyed Eugene's island and was only able to gather 88 computing power from there. The whole island was littered with the corpses of monsters, but the main character could not subdue any of them. Then he found a completely different tree. It was all glowed in white. The main character thought that if after destroying the Tree of Life, he did not have enough computing power to improve his island, it would be difficult for him. Then he thought about monsters. For their death, they also give computing power. You can collect it from them. Then a small white monster appeared in front of Kai. He was the only one who was not hostile. Kai decided to use soul subjugation to have this monster in his domain. Kai was surprised at what he got. If Kai became king, then all this territory would be under his control. Then he would become even stronger. Now it remains to find a buff in this territory to make this monster the king of this territory. There are still monsters left on this island. Looking for buffs, the main character stumbled upon them. So, gradually, they killed these monsters, accumulating computing power. But one by one, they were able to cope. But when their flock, it was very difficult. Therefore, the main character and his monster ran away from a pack of these monsters. The pack chased after them, not intending to lag behind. They were very aggressive. The main character has already seen his island, another dash, and they will be safe. But, unfortunately, the monster could not move into the territory of the main character. He was left there completely alone and completely defenseless. These monsters would simply tear him apart. Kai couldn't be allowed to let this monster die, so he would have to protect him. An hour later, they were still able to deal with a large pack of monsters. Now, this little monster looked completely different. It was already powerful and strong. Together with the main character, They were able to destroy this entire pack, and thanks to this, he increased his level. But he still served the main character. He considered him his master. Finally, they had reached the Tree of Life. All that remained was to destroy it and gain computing power. A pack of monsters flew around them, but they behaved aggressively only in the direction of the main character. The monster was able to pull the computing power out of the Tree of Life, thereby destroying it. After the tree was destroyed, all the monsters began to fly around it. The monster has given computing power to the protagonist. Now he can improve his island. But this power was too little. Kai thought that for the tree he would get more power. There was nothing left to do but start destroying the flying monsters. Yes, it was cruel, but now the main character needed computing power. They destroyed these monsters in packs. They had no other choice. And each time, the monster brought balls with computing power from the killed monsters. There was only one tree left. This tree was white monsters. They were divided into classes. The monster continued to catch them and kill them for the protagonist. But there was nothing else to take from this island. Kai was even upset about it. At this point, Kai wondered to the serpent if it was possible to somehow transfer the territory of these monsters with him to the third level. The serpent said that it was possible to unite the islands, but that would require a lot of computing power, and that would have to leave the king here. And go to the next level yourself. I hope this level will not be so difficult. Then a notification came from Rose that she needed help. She was on the third floor. She was swallowed by some monster, but she survived. The protagonist was shocked that Rose went up to the third floor so quickly. He did not know what to do or whether it was worth saving Rose at all. On the third level, there were no islands at all. There were some monsters. And then he saw the one who had swallowed Rose. He was different from the others in color. The main character quickly made his island invisible to these monsters. Then Rose wrote that there was a key here. It would most likely be needed on the fifth floor. The main character was surprised that he would also need a key to pass. He asked the serpent about the key. The serpent said that this key would be needed in the future. Meanwhile, Grom was surprised that Kai and Rose were able to make it to the third level while they were still on the second level. But Derek said that this is not a problem now because they need that monster who also has the key. Kai prepared to jump on this monster. The main thing was to jump to it. The serpent said that while the hero was away, he would hide his island. And so the main character made a big jump towards this giant. Landing on it, it began to be sucked in, as if it had fallen into a swamp. Other players also moved to the third level. One was the head of the Guild of the Shelter, and the other was the head of the Skyscraper. They immediately thought about the main character. If they meet him, then they already know all his basic techniques. They can cope with him. When they went up to the third level, they were shocked at how many monsters there were, and not just one island. Then one of the players noticed something. He looked to the side where he noticed something strange. His gaze was noticed by another player and asked where he was looking. Meanwhile, the main character has moved to some strange place. On the stone sat the queen of this place. It was the Queen of Flowers. No sooner had Kai landed in this place than she immediately attacked him. At the last moment, he was able to repel her attack, but that was only the beginning. She immediately stunned him from behind. He couldn't even put up protection. The Queen of Flowers gradually attacked the main character, not giving him a break. It was hard for him to hold back her onslaught. She was too strong. Then Rose appeared from behind the queen. She came to the aid of the main character. She threw shurikens at her, but they didn't even do any damage. But still, it allowed her to be distracted by Rose, and she attacked her. Rose had the skill of speed, so she avoided the attack without any problems. Flying past Kai, she said that it was time to get out of here. They couldn't handle her now. So they got to a safe zone where the queen did not touch them. Kai thanked Rose again for saving him. If it hadn't been for her, he would have died. Rose was pleased with the work done and said that it was he who helped her, and she should thank him. Rose was a little desperate, saying that there was no way to get out of here until you destroyed this queen. Then she wondered how the main character deserved her warm welcome. Kai said that he didn't understand anything himself. He hadn't even had time to enter this area when she attacked him. Then she said that she already had a plan, and it wasn't long before they could defeat this queen. If Rose casts her ability on her 3 times, they can defeat her. There are already 2, it remains to do it one more time, and then the victory is in their hands. Carl said that he saw the main character get inside this monster. They need to follow him. They were already fully prepared to meet the main character and were looking forward to it. Kai went back to the battlefield. He was bait for the queen so that Rose could cast her ability on her. Seeing it, the queen's eyes lit up with a scarlet color. She was ready to tear it into small pieces. She immediately attacked the main character with her powerful stems. He continued to fend off her attacks, distracting her and waiting for Rosé's turn to come. The stems surrounded him more and more from all sides. It was hard for him to fight them. And then it was Rosé's turn, but unfortunately, she was noticed by the queen. Just as Rosé wanted to get the key above her head, the queen turned in her direction. IP Kai clearly heard Rosé calling for help. Apparently, she did not succeed in her plan. He saw Rosé fly away from the queen, and the stems were already rushing in her direction. Without hesitation, Kai rushed into her direction to save her. He ran through the stems. Meanwhile, the queen was already completely distracted by Rosé and tried to kill her. Kai was already very close to the queen. He came to her from behind. Before she noticed him, he decided to take the key from her, and he managed to take it. But he didn't have the power to take this key with him. He was very surprised by that. The queen noticed this and was furious. She pointed all the stems at the main character. He had to drop the key and rush towards Rosé to save her. She said that the queen had stung her with something, so now she could not move. At that moment, two players from other guilds entered this world. Kai felt it. They were also slowly descending into this world, to the Queen of Flowers. They landed in a safe zone, thus the queen did not immediately attack them. But she felt that someone else had appeared in her world, which she needed to get rid of. Carl thought that he was lucky because he was hidden from prying eyes and could figure out what to do. But Kai noticed him and already pointed his gun. He put all his power into this shot to destroy the player immediately. To prevent Carl from moving, he inflicted the ability of captivity on him. And immediately at that moment, a shot was fired, the target was hit. But instead of killing Carl, the protagonist's health was taken away. This was Carl's skill. He could transfer his damage to others. And after that, he immediately attacked the main character to finish him off. Kai was confused but still took out his sword to fight Carl. The main character dodged in time and was able to inflict damage on Carl's body. But still, it did not kill him. Carl was stronger than the main character. They continued their battle, striking and repelling each other's blows. Here again, there was a powerful hammer blow to the main character. If he does not dodge, then this will be the end. But Kai used regeneration and was able to repel Carl's powerful attack. Carl said that not only the protagonist has the ability to regenerate, and there was another powerful blow towards the main character. But Kai was agile and fast, so he dodged his attack by coming behind him. Carl did not expect such a turn of events. He hoped to destroy it in one blow. But then Kai struck another blow while he was distracted by a failed attempt. By doing so, he angered Carl and he again made a powerful swing. But this time the blow passed by. Carl had few lives left. That's when the main character struck his final blow, killing the head of the Vault Guild.